Hello, folks. Welcome to Creative Task Stuff. I am just checking out what I said on my schedule. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Obviously, this is pre-recorded. I thought the easiest way to do this was pre-record it. When I try and live stream sometimes from my study, at the moment I've ordered a cable to hardwire it, but it's because it's on Wi-Fi, it drops out and you'll lose what's going on, and I'm losing about 20% of the feed at the moment, so I need to work that out. So I'm pre-recording this, which is no massive issue from your point of view, just because. Sorry, let's put that up. Just because I can go through this, but it's not that you'd have any questions necessarily here. So I'm going to spend about 40 minutes, I'd say. Maybe it probably wouldn't be a whole hour. About 40 minutes, I think, on just going through Creative Task. Just kind of, we've been through it before, but I just want to remind those of you who kind of obviously probably when I initially explained some stuff weren't maybe not paying as much attention because you thought it was a long way away. Well, it's here. It's here within the next few days. Within the next week, you'll have done it. So first things first, Creative Task. I'm just going to quickly bring up the paper. This is the one from 2014, not yours, but they're all relatively similar. So, first things first, you'll get this basically, you'll get your brief, and again, we always tell people to read the instructions. Instructions are the same in each one. You must create a piece of music using either rhythmic phrase, note pattern, melodic phrase, chord sequence, set of words, sequence of events. Now, I'm going to say now, most people choose chord sequence or set of words. Melodic phrase has been chosen, but probably C, D, and E are the ones that are chosen most. Doesn't mean you can't choose others. It just means I'm going to generally focus more on probably chord sequence and set of words. The complete stimulus must be used in your piece. You may ask the teacher to play or read any of the stimulus once, which I'll be doing regardless of whether you ask me to anyway. And it's 45 minutes. Okay, so 45 minutes to prepare and compose. Okay, and again, most of you, I'm going to be saying using Cubase. Okay, it's 20% of your mark. All right, 20% of your mark. So it's quite a big chunk for a 45-minute. That's 20%. It's worth as much as the listening test for your course, which is a good thing because last year's results are really positive. So I need coffee this morning. So let's have a look. There's a rhythmic phrase, an example of a rhythmic phrase, and you would there, it says create a rhythmic or melodic piece. So the first thing would be a rhythmic phrase is, it can be rhythmic or melodic. So if you were a drummer, we haven't got any in year 11 as far as I'm aware, but hence potentially you could make a rhythmic piece. Can be used to do a melodic piece. Those rhythms can be put into a tune. So that one's in 2/4. So 1, 2, 1. It goes 1, bam. Okay. Okay. So that's that rhythm. Okay. Now, straight away, if you're going to choose something like rhythmic phrase, you need to therefore decide what that rhythm reminds you of. Okay. So da. Kind of sounds a little bit like a march, but it could be potentially sound a little bit like a tango. Yeah. So there's certain types of music that it would suit, and certain types of music that kind of rhythm wouldn't suit. You wouldn't be able to compose a waltz from that, by the way, because it's in 2/4, not 3/4. You can't change the time signature of your rhythm. Okay, so you wouldn't be able to go in there and think, I'm going to compose a waltz using the rhythmic phrase, because you don't know what time signature they're going to use. It could be 3/4, could be 2/4, could be 4/4, could be 6/8, could be any of these things. Okay, not many people choose rhythmic phrase, so I'm not going to spend huge amounts of time on it. Note pattern. So, note pattern, create a melodic piece. Okay, create a melodic piece. Now, there is some notes. Okay, it's some notes. You would therefore create a melodic, and melodic's the important word here, folks. Okay, melodic piece. All right. which means a couple of things. It's not chords, okay? It wants something melodic from that. It wants something like with a melody, okay? 1 second. One sec. Oh, I'll try that later. So yeah, it wants something. It wants something melodic. Okay. It's looks relatively simple. Okay. I would say it's not as simple to make this melodic pattern work as much as you would want to. In fact, I really do want to use Cubase at the moment. Okay, 1 second. I'm just going to quickly restart Cubase. So melodic phrase is decent. Yeah, he's definitely usable. It's definitely something you can be kind of using and doing. But you'll just need to. Why is this not working? But you just need to kind of make sure that you are creating a melody. So if you use those notes and therefore you make a big kind of chord sequence stuff going on, no, that's still not working. That's incredibly annoying. But yeah, if you damn it. So I'm getting annoyed because my keyboard isn't receiving a signal. It was working when I started, but it's not working now. So I'm going to go without for the moment. So that note pattern, you'd need to look at it and think, okay, you've got C, G, D, E, F, A, G. So as far as a key, you'd need to work out a key. Now that doesn't have any sharps or flats. Okay, so there's an F natural there. So you'll see the fifth note is an F natural. It's not an F sharp. So if you think about the note you start on is a C, you could be in C major. If you look at the note you finish on, you might think, oh, well, you might be in G major. There's two G's in there, so maybe it's G major. The only issue with that is that you've got an F natural. Now, G major has one sharp in its key signature. So if it was in G major, it would have an F sharp. So that is much more likely to be in C major. So that therefore is in C major. So C to G, that's the first to the fifth, first to the fifth interval, tonic and dominant. So that would be in C major. So if you choose note pattern, you want to make sure that you understand what key you're working in, because that'll have make a massive difference on what it is you are doing. So I would say that it's not necessarily the easiest one to be doing, and not many people choose that one. Now, melodic phrase. Melodic phrase is about creating a second part, descant or bassline. Descant means a part that goes above, there's a harmony part above, or a bassline, which is basically a bassline that goes underneath that melody. To go with the 8 bars given, you may extend the piece if you wish. When it says you may extend the piece, it means you should extend the piece if you want a decent mark. That one therefore has one sharp in its key signature. Okay, it finishes on a G. So again, knowing your key signatures, and again, there's a potential of me giving you a little bit of assistance, but you want to be knowing your key signatures. So 1 sharp, F sharp. You remember we talked about with key signatures. If it's got sharps, you take the last sharp, you go up by 1 semitone, and that is your key. Okay, so that one there's a sharp on F sharp. Okay, so 1 semitone up for an F sharp is a G, so we're in G major. If there's flats, then you take the penultimate flat, that's the one before the last flat, and that is your key signature. So if it was 2 flats, a B flat and an E flat, you take the penultimate, which is a B flat, and that is your key signature. B flat major has 2 flats. The only ones you need to really learn is no flats is C major, and no flats or sharps is C major, and 1 flat is F major. Okay, 1 flat is F major because there's no penultimate one. If there's only 1 flat, you can't take the penultimate one, so it's F major. So if you learn that 1 flat is F major and no flats is C major, and the rest of them are all workoutable, you should be fine. Okay. Melodic phrase is one of these things where if you understand chords, if you understand bass lines, it actually can be a very high scoring one for you to do, only if you understand it. However, the students we've had who've done this are maybe a little bit more versed on music theory than some, and they've kind of understood, for example, any note that has there can have any number of chords. Okay, so if I take that first section, this is really where I need my keyboard to work. 1 second. I'm just going to see if I can unplug it and plug it back in again. 1 sec. Hopefully that's going to work now. I've just restarted it. You might have even heard the bingy bong, the bing bong sound. God, that reminds me of Peppa Pig. My little twins are obsessed with Peppa Pig. Every morning it's Pigga Pigga, and obviously the Bing Bong song. If you don't know the Bing Bong song, you need to go and watch that thing, because the Bing Bong song is awesome. Bing Bong Boo, Bing Bong Bing, Bing Bong Bingly Bungly Boo. That's actually the words. It is amazing. Okay. So that should be. It's odd that that's not coming through. Odd indeed. Now it's coming through. I think you're getting that now. Excellent. So, the melodic phrase. This is how it sounds. It's in 4/4. It's in G major. So. Two, three, four. Okay, so it's always quite a little upbeat little ditty. It's normally in a major key. So yeah, it's normally in the major key. So yeah, what would you do with that? Well, if you start on the B, just let me quickly bung my volume up here. Okay, so what would you do? Okay, well, the first thing with melodic phrase, I'm not going to spend lots of time on this, I'm just kind of going through examples at the moment, is that first B. You'd need to work out, and a lot of the stuff we're going to go through on this is what you need to do. If we're in G major, you need to work out the chords you might be using in G major. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So, for example, the 1, the 4, the 5 in major, and the 2, the 3, the 6 in minor. So, for example, G major, A minor, B minor, and then you've got C major, you've got D major, and you've got E minor. Okay? So that B could be in G, it could be G major. Okay, so that's a G in the bottom with that there. Could be. Okay, it could be the B could actually be harmonized with other notes, though. Could be harmonized over B minor. Okay, so sounds not quite as good, but it also could be harmonized over E. Yeah, E minor. Why? Well, the why is because there's 3 notes in the triad. The first, the third, and the fifth. 1, 3, 5. We've been going through that for a couple of years now. So 1, 3, 5 is your triads. That B, therefore, could be the first, the third, or the fifth note of a chord. And you're not going to add a chord, but you just need to know what chord it therefore would be, and then hence put in the bass line. I'd say bass line's a lot easier here. The bass line to fit that. Okay, but what you can also do is if you have a long note, so for example, if we take this D here, So, for example, this one, it's most likely to be a G because it's the beginning of the piece. Okay? Yeah? So, the first chord's melodic would be a G, but that, for example, that D, okay, there's a D there. Now that D is a long note. The bass line could just have a 2-beat note, but it's more likely you'd actually use some kind of the bass part would change so that the chord that's being kind of suggested changes. So if you've got a D, that could be part of, again, if we're in G major. It's not obviously G major, G B D. You could use a G over it because the D could be the 5th of G major. It wouldn't fit in the chord 2. It might fit in the chord 3. So G A B, B minor, B D F. It could be the 3rd note of B minor. It could also be 5th. Is it 5th? Sorry, my brain's not with it today. So G, A, B, C, D. Oh, yeah, because it could be D major. It could be the 1st of D major. Okay? What you could do, if you hit that D, you could use a couple of those versions. So you could literally hit B for B minor. Okay? You could hit and move. Yeah, but because hence you have a 2-beat note in one hand and you hence can move the bass part on the other. So you need to understand your things like your chords, and you need to understand your 1, 3, 5s and your triads, and you also need to be able to use your ears with what sounds right. And I'll probably do an example of a melodic phrase today. I might actually try and do 3 examples, but just spend a little bit less time on each one. So I give you a melodic phrase, a chord sequence, and a set of words, which moves us on to the most popular choice, not surprisingly, is chord sequence. So yeah, chord sequence is the most popular choice by a long way. I think most people did that last year. Now this version is in G major. You'll get something usually that is in G major or based around C major. Okay, again, they don't give you too many sharps or flats really in your chord sequence. And as soon as you get that, if it's no sharps or flats, it's C major, or it's relative A minor, but it's more likely to be C major. And then 1 sharp is G major, and 1 flat is F major. So you like to be in F major, C major, or G major. Okay, this one is in G major. You got 1 sharp, it starts on a G. Okay, this is your chord sequence. Okay, that's your chord sequence. And you would have to do something either chordal, so it says create a chordal piece, a melodic piece, or a combination of both. That means that pretty much you can do anything you like. Okay, obviously it can't be a rhythmic piece because the rhythmic piece doesn't feature notes. If you did a drum solo, then obviously it's not going to be you're not going to be choosing chord sequence. Okay, now hence those chords have to be played in that form. Okay, you can obviously add more chords. So again, if we're talking about being in G major, we've got G major, then the D is your 5th, so G, A, B, C, D, that's your dominant, so it goes 1 chord to 5, and then D is your minor 6, your relative minor is E minor of G, and then into C, which is the 4th, so you're going 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay, so again, that's of the chord, the circle of fifths chords and those interrelated chords. You need to be able, and you want to write them down because there's 2 chords that's not used. The chord of A minor and the chord of B minor is also not used. So there's potential to use those chords as well as those 4. Okay, so you can therefore use those chords. Not even to mention things like secondary dominants. So a secondary dominant being the 5 chord of one of those chords, so hence normally 5 of 5. So D major, yeah, chord 5 of D major is A major. Okay, I think it is D, E, F, G, A. Yes, A. So for example, before you use the chord of D, then you could stick I just kind of stuck it in there, so you can stick that. It's very Disney to do that. And again, that D7, 5-7. So you need to, again, still be knowing your interrelated chords. By the way, the first couple of times I played you that chord sequence, I forgot to play, I played you D minor, not D major. So that's why actually it sounds wrong. It actually sounds like this. Okay, which is, the chord sequence to Hey Jude by the Beatles. But I'm sure that's it's also for a lot of other pieces as well. But yeah, so you get a chord sequence. You have to do something quite significant with it. Okay, and this is where I say that you might therefore have a few different styles of music that you've chosen, that you've thought, okay, well, I could do this, I could do that. Now, some people do a pop ballad with that, and some people do an instrumental thing, some people do like a rock piece, some people do all sorts of stuff. But again, you want to be very quickly choosing a style to work in. It's required. Okay, you can't just sit there and just make some pretty sounding music. It needs to get you all the stuff you want in there. You need to kind of have a couple of styles of music chosen. So, for example, it's in a major key, so it wouldn't lend itself to something like tango, but it would potentially lend itself to a waltz. So, if you were the instrumental type person, a bit more classical minded, it would lend itself to a waltz. It would lend itself to some kind of film music thing. So something a bit more kind of epic sounding. But again, pop ballad it would suit. But yeah, anything that's in a major key, okay, which is a lot of types of music, okay. And yes, you could do it a cappella. I know someone mentioned, could you do something a cappella? Yes, you could, okay. If you're going to do that, you'd still want to understand your chords. And you want to have a decent musical ear. I could probably do something and again, I may well do something pretty cool with the kind of a cappella style, but that's just because I do a cappella and I do arrangements and I can do them quite quickly. And what you don't want to do is start something, have a good idea, but then try and do something that you can't get done in the time. That would be bad. So chord sequence is the most popular, and we're definitely going to do an example of that later on. You then have set of words. You never know what the set of words is going to be. Okay, whether it's going to be happy or sad or what, which means you have to create a song that uses all of the words in the order in which they're said. I had one person once say, well, can I change all the words around to create new sentences? I'm like, well, no, you can't. You have to use them as they're said. It doesn't mean you can't use additional words. There's only 2 verses there, so hence you might want to add more words. Okay. So, take my hand and follow me to that place I long to be. Take my hand and trust my way, in that place forever stay. Follow me toward the sand, we'll run and play hand in hand. Take my heart and hold it true, forever I'll stay close to you. Normally they make you cringe, okay? But that's fine, that's kind of what's expected. Often pop ballady stuff goes with this. Okay, so if you're a pop ballader, it may be, and you have to sing the words. You can't get somebody else to sing them. It's your creative task. If you're going to do a set of words, you have to be willing to sing them yourself. Someone once said, oh, can I do a set of words but not use words? I'm like, use the words as an inspiration but not actually use them. And it's like, no, you can't. You have to use them. So if you're going to do that, you would therefore potentially, make your own chord sequence. Now that means you could have pre-decided on a chord sequence. You need to pre-decide on how. If you're going to do that, you need to have more than one pre-decided chord sequence. Because if you come with a really happy chord sequence, I'll take the. Yeah, that's too upbeat and jazzy for some things. But if you come with something really sad, take my hand and follow me to that place where I long to be. It's like, it's not happy, So you need to make sure that if you're going to do that, if you're going to come up with the chord sequence and think, I'm going to do a set of words, you need to come with more than one chord sequence, one happy and one sad, or at least one kind of major and one kind of minor. It's a risky, because you may start, the more planning you try to do, You want to plan, kind of know your styles, but if you start trying to start, it's not cheating, but if you start trying to plan things that you're going to do beforehand, when you're just hoping that what you've prepped actually fits, and it doesn't necessarily always mean that it will. Set of words is useful if you're a singer. It's useful, again, you would need to therefore have a chord sequence, but again, you can use chord pad on Cubase, you can have chords being played in. You can do all sorts of stuff pretty quickly. Again, you'll know from composition how quick when we sit down sometimes we can get something in. You must all understand structure. Okay, you must have sections, intros, outros. You want the piece to finish. You want it to have substance. You want it to be doing something and going somewhere. You can't just repeat the same thing over and over again. It'd be dull. So you want to be very quick, and you can't decide. It's not perfect. You just have to go with it. Go with the choice. Keep on making decisions, and just go. Just do stuff. Just be musical and do stuff, and don't second guess yourself. I'm going to be there giving kind of technical support and kind of helping out. But yeah, so again, it's going to be fine, but you're going to have to make decisions pretty quickly, okay? And you're going to have to stick with those decisions, and the word "I don't know" can't be used. Okay, it cannot be used in 45 minutes. If you sit there for 5 minutes not doing anything, then that's, I would say for every 5 minutes you sit not doing anything, your grade will go down by an entire grade. 5 minutes of inactivity means that your final product will be a grade lower than it should have been. So you can't do that. You just got to basically come in. I would say come in energetic, and maybe having already had some energy drinks or a can of Coke or something. You must make sure you are energetic, because I will be, to try and make sure you are. So you'll need to come in and know what you're doing, and be with the world. You can't just come in and say you're tired, because that's 20% of your course right there. Okay. So the last one is sequence of events, and it's one that I say don't do. It is not as easy as it looks. Create a piece of music. So I'm tired today. Create a piece of music to describe this sequence of events. It's a cold winter's morning and snowflakes are gently falling. Someone is walking slowly under a line of trees. A strong gust of wind blows the snow from the trees, and, startled, the walker stops. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to focus on it today, because honestly, I don't really want you doing sequence of events. The people who've done it before, who haven't listened to me, have always got pretty poor grades. Even when I try to kind of show people, they said, "Oh, what if I want to do sequence of events?" I spent some time showing them how they might do it, and their grades came back really, really poor comparative to where they should be. Again, it's more the marking of it's more subjective. So it's about, have you done something which does describe those events? But it's like, that's pretty. There's things you can do with it, but it's not necessarily easy. It's far easier to pick a chord sequence or a set of words and do something on Cubase that's musical and kind of shows these skills. And again, it is just about showing skills. It's about showing what you can do. It's showing what you understand. And yeah, so it's important that you're not trying to kind of second guess yourself. You want to get in there and think, okay, how can I show my skills and my understanding of music in as short period of time as possible? So I think it's just important that we don't, we really don't start going a bit crazy trying to kind of choose things and just chord sequence, set of words, melodic phrase. I'd say is the three I'm going to go through today and give examples of, and that should suit all of you. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the next thing, which is the marking criteria. This is in the specification. I don't mark this. It's externally marked. Okay, it's externally marked. It's marked by OCR, so it's marked by the exam board. Says there it's marked out of 40. I think that's still the case. 25 marks awarded for the quality of the response. 15 marks awarded for the quality of communication. And we're just going to go through this and look at, and so you kind of know what they're looking for. Okay, this is what they'll get, and this is what they'll be using when they listen to it. So let's say we're on level 5. Okay, for quality of response. Let's look at level 5, 17 to 20. We'll look at the difference between that and 21 to 24. The stimulus makes an important contribution to the character of a composition. Musical ideas are developed effectively using a range of compositional devices. The piece has a sense of style with the resource well used. There's a well-planned structural framework. So you have to have a structure. You can't just use the chord sequence once and then change the chord sequence entirely. You have to use it. It has to make an important contribution to the composition, which is why I'm saying, like, you want to make sure you use that and really kind of maximize what you can do with the stimulus you've been given. Range of compositional devices, things like modulation, we're going to go through and look at, but again, you might want to try and modulate, and that's not difficult. You just need to work out, you need to probably modulate to the relative minor or to the dominant, and then just work out the chords in that new key, and then that's it. It's not difficult. If we look at level 6, the stimulus is used imaginatively. So if you want a higher mark, it wants to be imaginative. Okay, as opposed to the stimulus makes an important contribution, the stimulus is used imaginatively. The piece has a strong sense of style, as opposed to the piece has a sense of style. So a strong sense of style. When we say style, it means you need to pick a style. So if you do a tango, not that they would suit this one here, but if you did have a tango or a waltz, it would need to sound like a tango or a waltz and have a strong sense of style of what it was, which is why you need to decide what it's going to be. When you look at it, go, okay, I'm going to compose a dance piece of club dance, and therefore it should sound like club dance. Okay, it must have a sense of style. Yeah, if it doesn't have a sense of style, okay, we're in the level 4 category or below. Yeah. The piece may lack a sense of style. So it will be inconsistent in this respect. So if you get a good piece of music but doesn't really have a style, you're pinning yourself into low grades. Okay, you must have a sense of style. This one here, the structure supports a good balance of unity and variety. So the structure that you've chosen, which it might be a pop song, it might be like a first section, second section, back to the first section, or whatever it is, supports unity and variety. Okay, so the possibility of returning themes, and again, unity, so it doesn't just change constantly, but it doesn't just do the same thing over and over again. So even a piece of club dance, you'd want, therefore, the structure to kind of, obviously, it would need to have a breakdown, it would need to kind of kick in, it would need to have a quiet section, maybe a little kind of paddy kind of section, kind of ethereal kind of little sounds and stuff like that. It'd need to have a really kind of loud bit, maybe even kind of the drum bit, bang, those kind of things. So therefore there's unity, there's something that's you can stick on and go, yes, that's the kind of main section of this piece, and then variety. So it doesn't just do the same thing. And there is very effective use of the resource. Very effective. Okay, that means you've done things with it. You've done lots of stuff with it. You've kind of eked it out and wrung all the musicalness out of that. If we go for 25 full marks, a highly musical piece which shows exceptional flair. Now that is a tricky one to get. The piece exploits the stimulus consistently and is effective and memorable. There is a clear sense of personal style supported by a strong structure. There is sophisticated use of the resource. You can see there that the descriptive words are just a lot bigger there. The second grading part is quality of communication. Now this is one that we should do well in. Okay, written, recorded, or using ICT. You'll be using ICT. Get used to it. Okay. The reason we use ICT is if we go in and we look at level 6, recorded outcomes show some stylistic understanding and contain some convincing passages. Technical control is secure with good intonation and tone where appropriate. Written outcomes contain markings of tempo, dynamics, articulation, which make musical sense, although a few passages where some of the details are either lacking or excessive. So if it's on ICT, you don't have to put dynamics in, you just have to have them in the music, which means you don't have to spend time writing them out, which is time consuming. Okay? If we go for level 7, the piece's recorded outcomes contain musical shaping, articulation, and dynamic shading, which is all sort outable after you've initially put it in. You can change the volumes and have tempo changes, and you can add those things afterwards. So you can record it as quickly as you can, get it done, and then you can add those musical things afterwards. Okay, you can change the volume, you can give crescendos, you can do diminuendos, you can, volume increases, volume decreases. You can, for example, slow it out or speed it up a little bit. You can do all those tempo changes. You can do it in post-production. So when you've done it, you can spend the last little bit of time tweaking it and making sure it hits those grading criteria. Okay? So yeah, so hence it's recording outcomes. So it's not a performance. So the performance confidence shows there's good technical control. It's not a performance. It's a recorded outcome. Okay? So we see there, for exceptional, the piece is communicated in a way that shows consistently mature insights into the musical impact of the composition. Recorded outcomes are flawless. Flawless. But if it's quantized, if it has tempo change, if it has all those things, then it kind of will be. Okay? It will be flawless. So you've got the possibility. Whereas, for example, if it was written outcome show a level of detail appropriate to the musical style throughout, it's easier, I think, using ICT to get this grade. And it's quite a lot of marks. Yeah? You get up to 25 for how good the piece is, but how well it's communicated and recorded is quite a lot of marks as well. So even if your piece isn't great, if it's presented in a particularly in a really good way, then you're going to get some marks. Even like things like adding reverb at the end and kind of tweaking it. And again, if it's a singer, maybe putting a little bit of pitch correction and just a little bit of shine on it, those kind of things, then that's going to get those grades. Okay? It's going to get the grades. So that is just an explanation of basically what Creative Task is. The next section I will do is some tips and tricks for different tasks. Now, again, it probably won't be a full hour. I'll basically use as long as I need, and I'm going to go through the kind of a little bit of the theory as well as tips and tricks, and then I'll go into more detail later on with the theory. So this session finishes, and hopefully it's been useful, and there's lots more sessions to come. So yeah, awesome. See you soon.